the source code its own story or a related story that in which an additional character pops up. So it looks like Mark is ready to go.
Well, I'm putting this mic on as sort of thing. Maybe Kathy and all the notions for all their work. So you guys can hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Not overpowering. My clock going, so it'll take me too much of your time. So this piece is called Living Well. At some point, I'll ask you to make choices in true text fiction reading style. This is written on a system called Dum Dum. And by the way, before I pause my time for a second, I'm going to share two stories with you guys today. The first one's Living Well. The second one I'm just going to maybe outline very quickly at the end. So you might have this feeling like, wow, we're done. But you won't be done. There's one more thing I'll just to prepare your minds for that. Okay, now let's start the time. All right. Under the care of the law firm of Bowles and Kenge, this document, for all purposes legal and sundry, embodies the living will of I, E.R. Millhouse, resident of London, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, being of sound mind and rational thought, but apparently to all parties save myself, being at present so completely incoherent or incapacitated that I am unable to declare my wishes intelligibly, do so specify my intentions here willfully and voluntarily, hereby supplanting, usurping, and obscuring all prior wills and codicils. Preamble. On the eve of my death, or to be more precise, the functional equivalents, I lift pen to lips, pen to tongue, pen to parchment, to choose the words that will relinquish my worldly possessions and estate to you, who have picked up this text with anxious, grasping fingers. Yet, like my failing body, my retreating memory, my words escape me even as I set them down. And here you are, anxious, are you not? Perhaps, perhaps the source of that anxiety is the paper itself, which slips out of your grasp, out of graspability. Perhaps the source is merely your own mortal state. For what is immortality but a persistent nagging linkage to the possessions that possess us? It is in freeing myself of them that I shall be free also, I expect of you. Clause 1. There will be many clauses. Let us move on again. As your eyes greedily devour this text, I encourage you to grab what you will. In the event that I am incapable of utterance, even via the slightest gesture, the blinking of an eye, as in that pretentious film about the butterfly and the bell jar my daughter insisted I watch, then I wish for my estate to be distributed immediately before it is completely eroded and dispersed by the amortization of legal and medical expenses accruing in my perpetuity, their hourly bloodletting, hourly penalizing each transaction. Moreover, I am enclosing burial instructions for that untimely event as well. The Boffins at Droxel Vox have collaborated with the fellows of legal and finance to create this unique dynamic instrument. This telematic testament, subject to the conductor of the ever-shifting winds of market forces as a prosthetic to my own will. In a moment of weakness, I inquired whether I could live inside this document, as in a virtual world, and they guffawed. But what is a will but a simulation of ourselves reduced to a set of procedures for the allocation of our resources? So into my own perpetual underworld, let my pronoun manifestation be your Virgil. Clause 2, admit your identity. No one can read this document with the veracity of those who have something coming to them, whose fates are wrapped in its letters. Which one of my heirs are you? All right, well, I guess as you guessed, this is our moment. So who are we going to be today? Daughter. I guess I heard daughter first. So Saturday. The mere fact that you are here is promising, an occasion for me to once again shower you with my undying love and affection, inasmuch as I myself am undying at this time. That you always had a weakness for frail things, always wanted to salvage the dying before the river could carry them off. Look at how you took to Kip. Non-parallel pride swells these pages as I think on you, all you have achieved in your short artistic life. And though you forswore my corporate empire, your spot on the boards of Droxelbox and Coxswain, you outshined even your brother Nigel when you created that smartphone app. No, neither you nor I knew what you had done. But, oh no, I'm scrolling. But you never did know all you were capable of, always covered with the veil of that word you always cling to, dual diagnosis, a double abdication on the part of the doctors to assign blame or responsibility to their patient for her emotional excesses. But you will not have to worry about that nonsense anymore. Clearly you are better, or you would not have come back. Said you never would. So what could I do to reward you? All right, do you want to check any of these? I guess we do, so I'll just ask you which one you want to look at. Smartphone app, people said, oh, this is the electronic literature group. What did you call it? Locative media? Except you called it locative, as though it were from one of those lower stations rather than locative, as in the Latin case. That particular piece has a long history of discussion with John Cayley and Rita Rayleigh, but I'll let you fill in the footnotes there. Which you no doubt were taught at Sherborne, or at least I paid them plenty to inculcate you with that knowledge. But that piece, Network of Loss, is that what it was called? Was it not? And it won the award at the Biennale in, where was it, Brazil? That they have biennials for cell phone applications in Brazil. To think of it! That piece raised the fourth generation phone, the Panderer, produced a great savings in the Beijing Zonix plant from a utilitarian piece of corporate productivity ware to something, how would you say it? Some kind of noble artistic venue. For that alone I owe you my most dear treasures. And so as you might imagine, the distributions are always somewhat different. So let's see what you got. And you can select other people's if you would like to take them. I hereby bequeath the following without condition to be increased or squandered with uncontrolled discretion. To my loving son Nigel, I leave a legacy of shame and 0% shares of Droxelbox. To my loving daughter Salome, I leave a bundle of credit default annuities leveraged against the Teachers Retirement Fund of Sheffield and 63% shares of Droxelbox. To my dearest Kip, I leave a castigating, blood-stained missive sent to Metzi Kabila from Che Guevara, which Kabila the Younger gave to me over an elegant steak dinner as a gesture toward the capricious turns of fate, and 34% shares of Droxelbox. The residuary estate I bequeath Mike Gardner, including 3% shares of Droxelbox. So we can take, let's see how we're doing. We're actually doing pretty good. We don't have to take anything from anybody. We've got more requests than we have legal fees, so I'll save us the trouble. This is your inheritance, less than the encumbrances presented by my medical bills or legal fees incurred during the execution of this document. And I almost forgot, to Nigel I leave the entire control and proprietorship of Coxswain Group. And I leave what you desire most, my sweet Kip, whom you wished to interview for your video project, which I believe was going to mix footage of the Congolese serving class with some type of indigenous poetry. Please treat him dearly, and neither he nor I are particularly tolerant of poetry. When you're satisfied, you can proceed to the final clause, so we're going to go to that now. Okay, very well. Together we have chosen our lot. Now you have choices. We could save him or let him go. What do you think? I heard, for a rare occasion, I heard people say save him. So I mean, it's like, you know, feel free to be in the middle. It's fine. I mean, you know, that's how we will be, I guess, at the end. dear daughter, you have saved me. Though the system reports that in the process you have contracted an infection which has progressed to the point that you will lose the ability to see. I am filled with guilt. Though I shall live on, I place your inheritance in a payable on death account, mine not yours, assuming mine will arrive first. Remember always my edict, that no matter what those other doctors say, dearest daughter, choose your own adventure. And then there's the final tally. You can see how we did. You can see how we scored. And thanks to you, I'm still alive. And it's okay, so that's a run through of Living Well for You. I just wanted to share with you guys today. So the other story, I'm going to just share with you very briefly in the just 2 minutes remaining, began when I started to look out around me at the people who were suffering, I knew very close to me, and who we might see this weekend suffering around us, perhaps in Boston this weekend. And it begins with 3 people, although I didn't always have those 3 people. One of them's name is Charles, one of them's name is Hazel, and one of their names is John. Now, I'm almost certain from extensive research that there's only one person in this room who knows any of those 3 people. But perhaps I can show you where they live. They live on Twitter, so tell me what Here's one of them, Changer Charles. He's a medievalist. One of them. Now these 3 characters are suffering for a very particular reason, and that is because they are members of a profession that has treated them poorly. Here's Hazel Smith. She never uses apostrophes. And the third one's name is, well, his handle is a little bit silly. His name is John, but his handle is wanna hang. And these 3 people are the members of an organization that I formed a year ago. Some of you may have heard of Not that anybody would claim to be Occupy MLA who was not, although actually these characters claim to be Occupy MLA and they were not, I guess. And you know, again, some people are really irritated with this piece, and a lot of people, I don't know, they just thought, who knows? There are people, there are fans and there are haters, I guess. But I wanted to give people the license to read their stories as a kind of fictional protest work, I guess you might say. But just of course to prove that I'm in it, what should we have Occupy MLA say? Well, I should ask you guys. I'm worried. Let me just have them say join us. How about that? That was one of their interests. And so we'll see if that happens. So anyway, I guess I leave that with you guys. Again, I'm happy to talk to you guys anyway about this at some point in the future. I was not the only person who wrote these characters. The other person was Rob Wittig, my collaborator in a lot of what we call net props. And you know, I think again, the most important thing, if I could frame this for you guys before I wrap this up right now, you know, I guess if you could just think about them and all their dysfunctions, all their kind of pathetic stories, and all their inability to organize, and their inability to articulate what they wanted, their inability to achieve their dreams of a place like MLA, to be sort of my gesture, my love letter to the people that I knew who I would see at this convention all the time, and people like the folks that they say that they're inspired by, the Brian Croxells, the Lee Scalarups, and then some of the real world activists like you know, the folks over at Adjunct Nation, New Fact Majority, and then some recent friends like Noel Jackson, who recently gave $40 to strike debt in the name of Occupy MLA. So there are all these people who have, certainly really fighting this cause. But then another group of people who I saw who didn't really have a voice at all, who were adjuncts, they couldn't afford to come to MLA. They were probably going to be adjuncts their whole life. And that terrible sense of sadness that I think was most embodied in a character named Charles, who was so arrogant, who I love to play, who wanted just one thing. He wanted a tenure-track job so that he could teach the works of Chrétien de Troyes. That's right. That's all he wanted. He wanted to teach like Eric and Enid. He wanted to teach the chivalric romances in French. And that's all he wanted for his life. And he was never going to get it while I was in charge of his Twitter account. And again, I have a sense that maybe we have some of those people among us here in Boston. So when you go back and you read their feeds and you read their stories and you read the misfortunes of that horrible organization, disorganization of Occupy MLA, just keep that in mind and know that at its heart it was never meant to take up too many people's time or to trick them or anything like that, but maybe to tell a story of something that is happening around us, and that hope that, as far as I can tell from those wonderful old act panels, is something that I think the profession in MLA is